Michael, the owner of the motorcycle dealership, stands by the window, scanning through sales reports on a tablet. He looks thoughtful, maybe even a little concerned. I need to see how my customers are really treated when I'm not around. No more relying on secondhand feedback. He sets the tablet down, steeling himself with a decisive nod. Michael rummages through a closet, pushing aside business suits and formal wear. He pulls out a casual outfit, faded jeans, an old band t-shirt, and a well-worn jacket that doesn't scream rich owner. He slips on a baseball cap, tucking his hair under it, then studies himself in the mirror. He looks almost unrecognizable compared to his usual polished, professional image. That should do. Let's see how the staff handles just another guy off the street. A bustling lot full of motorcycles. Michael parks his personal car away from the main entrance, far from his usual reserved spot. He takes a moment to steady himself, then steps out into the crisp morning air. He slides his cap lower to shade his face, casually making his way to the dealership doors. A salesperson holds the door open for him, not recognizing him at all. Salesperson. Morning. Looking for anything in particular today? Michael forces a polite yet uncertain shrug, as if he's a typical customer. Michael. Just browsing, thanks. Bright lights showcase gleaming motorcycles of various makes and models. Michael slows his pace, taking in every detail. He glances discreetly at the staff scattered around, some chatting with customers, others busy typing at computers. Michael moves toward a mid-range motorcycle, running a hand over its polished surface. He casts a quick look around, making sure no one is eyeing him too closely. If they treat me like any other customer, I'll know we're in good shape. But if something's off, I'll see it firsthand. He exhales, steeling himself for the day's undercover mission. Bright overhead lights reflect off rows of shiny motorcycles. Michael stands near a mid-range bike, still incognito under his cap. He pretends to examine the specs on a small card attached to the handlebars. Across the showroom, two salespersons chat. One, Chris, early 30s, eager, seems friendly, occasionally glancing at potential customers. The other, Debbie, mid-40s, seasoned, scrolls on a tablet, projecting a certain cool detachment. Chris, spotting Michael from afar. I'll go see if that guy needs any help. Debbie knows the routine, but barely looks up. Sure. Just watch out, some folks just want to browse without the sales pitch. Chris, right. I'll keep it low-key. Chris approaches Michael, who feigns cluelessness, focusing on the bike's price tag. Chris, cheerfully. Hey there. Nice choice. You into cruisers, or is this your first time checking them out? Michael studies Chris's face, trying to gauge his sincerity. Michael. First time, actually. Not sure if it's too much bike for me. Chris smiles, nodding. Meanwhile, from across the showroom, Debbie watches with mild disinterest before returning to her tablet. Chris, no worries. I can walk you through all the basics, engine size, handling, comfort. We've got a pretty wide selection, so there's always a good fit. Michael, so far so good. Polite, patient, not pushy. Michael shifts his attention around the dealership. Another employee in the corner is talking loudly to a couple, practically drowning them in sales jargon. A different customer stands by the parts counter, waiting a bit too long for help. It's a mixed bag of behaviors. Some staff seem attentive, others less so. Michael returns his gaze to Chris. Michael, is there someone I should talk to about financing? Or Chris chuckles, gesturing at himself. Chris, that'd be me? Or we've got a financing specialist too, if you prefer a deeper dive. But I can answer the basics. Any idea of your budget range? Michael hesitates, playing the role of unsure shopper. Michael, I was thinking somewhere mid-range, but I'm flexible. Maybe you can recommend something. Chris starts discussing options and features, keeping his tone helpful, never condescending. Meanwhile, Michael's eyes flick around, taking mental notes of how other customers are treated. Some are greeted warmly, others are left waiting. The scene presents a patchwork of stellar moments and lackluster interactions. Michael, they're not ignoring me, which is good. But I wonder if the rest of the staff is this attentive to everyone. Chris motions Michael toward a second bike, sleek, modern, with a slightly higher price tag. Michael nods thoughtfully, still undercover, still observing every subtle detail. Michael stands by the front desk with Chris, who's busy tapping information into a computer. Nearby, another customer flips through a glossy brochure, waiting for assistance. There's a low hum of conversation and the faint scent of rubber and metal in the air. Chris, enthusiastic. So if we're looking at this mid-range cruiser, you'd be looking at a monthly payment around. Glances at screen. Let's say $350 to $400, depending on your down payment. Michael nods, playing up the cautious buyer role. Michael, that's a bit more than I expected, but not impossible. I'd like to see if there's any wiggle room on that interest rate. Chris flashes a polite, understanding smile. Chris, absolutely. We have an in-house financing specialist, Linda, who can break down the numbers in detail. If you're serious, we can step into the office and run a quick credit check, see what we can do. Michael hesitates for a beat, as though weighing the offer. In reality, he's looking around, checking how others are being served. One customer stands alone by a custom bike, seemingly ready to ask questions but receiving no attention. Another employee walks right by him without so much as a nod. Michael. Not the best sign. Let's see if Chris notices. Chris does a quick scan of the showroom, spots the unacknowledged customer, and lifts a hand. Chris leans toward Michael. Give me 1 minute. I hate leaving people hanging. Calls out to the other employee. Hey, Sheila, can you help the gentleman buy the custom model? Sheila, mid-20s, glances up from her phone, nods reluctantly, and heads over to the waiting customer. Michael picks up on the subtle tension. Michael, at least Chris is trying. The rest, well, there's room for improvement. Chris returns his full attention to Michael, leading him toward a small side office. They pass by Debbie, who's now speaking with a different couple. Debbie spots Michael, but doesn't show any sign of recognition. A cramped space with a desk, a few chairs, and posters boasting low APR deals. Linda, 30s, professional, slightly overworked, sits behind the desk, greeting them with a polite smile. Chris introduces Michael as a potential buyer for the mid-range cruiser. Linda, great to meet you. If you've got a driver's license and about 5 minutes, I can pull up some financing offers for you. Michael hands over his license. Linda types quickly, the keyboard clacking. Chris stands by, arms crossed casually, scanning the screen. A moment later, Linda leans back. Linda, reading the screen, puzzled. Your credit score is actually quite good. And your income bracket. Wait, are you sure you're? Michael clears his throat, trying not to blow his cover. Michael, I run my own business. Maybe the system recognized that. But let's keep the details simple, yeah? Linda shrugs it off with a polite nod. Linda, no problem. Based on these numbers, we can definitely get you a lower interest rate than our standard. Let's see. Types more, eyes widening. Yes, you qualify for our premium financing package. 0 down if you'd like. Chris raises an impressed eyebrow, but doesn't question it. Michael pretends to be surprised. Michael, that's wow. That's better than I expected. Let's talk monthly payments then. Linda lays out a few options. Michael nods thoughtfully, absorbing the breakdown. He's about to agree when something catches his ear, a faint commotion from the main showroom. Raised voices, just loud enough to register. Michael freezes, hand hovering over the pen that would sign the first wave of paperwork. Michael, that sounded heated. Wonder what's going on out there. He sets the pen down, glancing at Chris. Michael, hey, mind if we step out for a second? I want to check something before signing. Chris, who also heard the muffled raised voices, nods slowly. He and Michael exchange curious looks, both about to find out what's causing the sudden tension on the sales floor. Michael and Chris step out of the finance office into the bustling showroom. The conversation level has risen, and they immediately spot the source. 2 new customers. Jason, 30s, confident, slightly agitated, and Maria, late 20s, quieter, but visibly upset. They stand near the main entrance, voices tense as they talk to a salesperson who looks overwhelmed. Jason, raising his voice. We drove an hour to get here, only to be told one price on the phone and a completely different price now. That's not okay. Maria, arms crossed, looks around the showroom, her expression torn between anger and disappointment. Maria, it feels like a bait and switch. We specifically asked for out-the-door numbers before we came. The salesperson tries to calm them, flipping through some paperwork, but the tension is palpable. Salesperson. I'm sorry, but maybe there was a misunderstanding with the quote. Let me see if there's something we can do. Michael and Chris exchange looks. Michael's eyes narrow in concern. He sidles closer, just within earshot, while Chris hovers discreetly to see if he can help. Jason, continuing, frustrated. We have the text message with the original quote right here on my phone. It's not a misunderstanding. It's straight-up false advertising. He waves his phone as proof. The salesperson opens and closes his mouth, not sure how to respond. Debbie, across the showroom, notices the commotion but makes no move to intervene. Michael. They obviously got the runaround. This isn't the kind of scene I want in my dealership. But do I step in? Chris glances at Michael, likely thinking the same thing. Michael gives a subtle nod, deciding to inch forward in his clueless customer persona. Michael, clearing his throat. Hey, excuse me. Are you two having trouble with a price quote? Jason and Maria both turn, looking him over like he's just some random onlooker. Jason, you could say that. We've been told a lower price for a bike over the phone, and now, surprise, it's magically a few thousand more. Maria sighs, shaking her head. Maria, we were really counting on that original number. This just feels shady. Michael's jaw tightens, but he keeps his tone neutral. Michael, sorry to hear that. Maybe. Gestures at Chris. My guy here can help figure out what happened. Chris, still caught off guard, steps up. Chris, we can check the system, see who you spoke with, and maybe track down where the discrepancy is. Jason and Maria exchange a look, unsure if they trust any dealership staff right now. But they nod slowly, desperate for a resolution. Maria? Fine. Let's see if you can actually fix this instead of giving us a runaround. Michael lingers, caught between wanting to maintain his cover and the urge to take charge. Across the showroom, Debbie remains at her desk, eyeing them but not engaging. Michael, this is exactly why I came undercover. If people are feeling ripped off, I need to know how and why. And I've got to handle this carefully, or they'll never believe in this dealership again. He pulls his cap a bit lower, heart pounding as he senses how close he is to blowing his own cover. But for now, he stays quiet, letting Chris take the lead with these unhappy customers. A tense atmosphere hangs over the dealership as Jason and Maria wait near the reception desk, scrolling through texts on Jason's phone. Chris heads to a back office to pull up records, leaving Michael standing quietly nearby, still acting the part of a curious bystander. Michael inches closer, pretending to study a row of helmets on display. In reality, he's positioning himself to overhear the couple's low-voice conversation. Jason, lowered voice, frustrated. I still can't believe this. It's not just a few $100, it's thousands more. And that salesman sounded so confident on the phone. Maria, shaking her head. I know. It feels like we're being lured in with a fake deal. I'm this close to just walking out. Michael glances around, confirming that no other employees are listening. Debbie hovers at her desk across the showroom, discreetly watching but making no move to help. The couple continues venting, the words growing sharper. Jason, they think we won't notice or that we'll just cave after driving all this way. And you know what else I heard online? That management here doesn't care about keeping customers, just about the immediate sale. Maria nods. Yeah, I read a few reviews saying the same thing. People complaining that once they've got your money, they forget about you. No follow-up, no real service, nothing. Michael's eyes flick downward. The sting of their comments is evident on his face. He grips the edge of the helmet rack for a moment, taking in their words. Michael, this is exactly the kind of reputation I never wanted for my dealership. If customers think we're shady, that's a serious problem, and it's on me to fix it. Jason lets out a tense sigh, checking the time on his phone. Jason, if Chris doesn't sort this out soon, we're gone. I'm not giving them another dime. Michael sets the helmet back on the shelf, then clears his throat. He turns, adopting a friendly, concerned expression. Michael, hey, I couldn't help but overhear. Sorry if that's weird, but I totally get how you feel. Sounds like you got a raw deal. Jason and Maria exchange looks, mildly surprised a random customer is butting in. Maria, it's a fine. We're just frustrated, you know. Michael nods understandingly. Michael, I'd be upset too. Maybe Chris can straighten it out. If not, I know a few ways to escalate things. Talk to a management or something. He almost slips up and says, talk to me, but stops just in time. Jason, management, huh? I doubt they'll do anything. Might just be more of the same. Michael manages a sympathetic half-smile, heart heavy at the harsh truth they believe. Michael, time to prove them wrong, without blowing my cover. Chris stands with a folder of paperwork, looking between Jason and Maria. Michael watches from a short distance, hands in his pockets, still posing as a fellow customer, but itching to intervene. Chris, so, I've got the initial quote you received on file. I'm not sure why there's such a big discrepancy, but I'm willing to do what I can to fix this. Maybe there was a miscommunication in the system? Jason folds his arms over his chest, phone in hand, displaying the texted quote. Jason, miscommunication or not, we feel like we got jerked around. We won the price we were promised. Nothing more, nothing less. Maria nods, frustration evident. Maria, we're not trying to haggle beyond what's fair. It just needs to be the deal that was quoted. Chris nods, genuinely apologetic. Meanwhile, Michael steps forward, clearing his throat, carefully maintaining his undercover role. Michael, hey, mind if I ask what all changed from the phone call to now? You mentioned an out-the-door quote. How much higher is the new number? Jason lets out a weary sigh. Jason, a few thousand more. They're tacking on all these fees that weren't mentioned before. Dealer prep, some extended warranty we never asked for, extra documentation charges, stuff they said was included before. Michael's expression tightens, hearing the specifics. Michael, softly. That's quite a jump. He glances at Chris, whose cheeks burn red, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Chris, look, I can escalate this to a manager, see if we can waive those fees. But I need to confirm who you talked to on the phone in the first place. Jason scrolls through his call log, reading off a name that rings no bell with Chris. Michael notices a flicker of recognition from Debbie. She's within earshot, but she quickly drops her gaze, feigning disinterest. Maria, it's just, why do we have to fight for an honest price? If this is how you do business, maybe we should take our money elsewhere. Michael's jaw clenches. His customers shouldn't feel scammed or forced to fight for a fair deal. He takes a steadying breath, turning his gaze on Jason and Maria. Michael, could I ask you both something? Hesitates, measuring his words. You mentioned you saw negative reviews online. Is this a common complaint? Unexpected extra fees? Jason lifts a shoulder. Jason, apparently. We saw at least a couple people mentioning hidden costs and rude service. We just hoped the good reviews outweighed the bad. Guess not. Maria nods in agreement, her earlier excitement deflated. Maria, we were excited about this place at first. But if that's how they do business, charging more than promised, how can we trust them after we've signed the contract? Michael's face hardens, hearing the harsh truth. Despite wanting to reveal who he is, he forces himself to stay in character a bit longer, needing more details before he steps up as the owner. Michael, quietly earnest. I'm really sorry you're going through this. I understand how it feels. Would you mind explaining from the top exactly how the conversation went, what they promised, what questions you asked? If I can help, even as just a fellow customer, maybe we can figure out a way to hold them accountable. Jason and Maria exchange wary glances, but sense that Michael's sincere. Jason, sure. We called 2 days ago, asked for a specific out-the-door price. The guy on the phone gave us a total that seemed great. We triple-checked about extra fees. He said no surprises. Now here we are. Maria takes a breath, clearly feeling overwhelmed. Maria, it just feels wrong. Like the minute we show up, the story changes. We drove an hour here, Michael nods, a storm of thoughts swirling in his eyes. Michael, this is my dealership. My reputation on the line. Time to step up. But I've got to handle this just right, or these two will never trust us again. He slowly straightens, glancing at Chris, who's flipping through the folder with an apologetic frown, trying to find a solution. Michael is on the verge of speaking his truth, ready to reveal who he really is, yet still weighing whether the moment is right. Jason and Maria stand at the reception desk, arms crossed. Chris flips through documents, trying to reconcile the initial phone quote with the new fees. Michael lingers a short distance away, brow furrowed as he wrestles with the decision to finally step up as the owner. Debbie, noticing the tension, approaches cautiously. Debbie, is there a problem here? Jason and Maria glare at her, exasperated. Maria? Oh yeah. We're being quoted a totally different price than what we got on the phone. Feels like a bait and switch. Debbie opens her mouth, likely about to deflect or spin, but Michael exhales, takes off his baseball cap, and steps forward. The atmosphere shifts. Chris and Debbie exchange puzzled looks, sensing a change in Michael's demeanor. Michael, firmly, to Jason and Maria. I think it's time I introduce myself properly. He glances at Debbie, then Chris. I'm Michael Reeves. I own this dealership. A half-second of stunned silence. Debbie's eyes widen. Chris's jaw drops. Jason and Maria blink, unsure if they heard him right. Maria, you own the place. Michael nods solemnly, locking eyes with him. Michael, yeah. I came in undercover to see how customers are treated when management isn't around. I'm sorry for the runaround you both experienced. He turns to Chris, who stands speechless, then to Debbie, whose face flushes. Several nearby staffers stop what they're doing, gawking. Debbie, sir, I didn't realize. Michael holds up a hand to quiet her. Michael, to Jason and Maria. Let's set things straight. You have every right to the price you were quoted, assuming it's accurate. We're not in the business of deceiving people. Any fees that weren't disclosed in that quote should be removed. Jason exhales, shoulders relaxing just a bit. Jason, you're serious about that? Michael, dead serious. Bring me the text or email confirming your out-the-door price, and that's what you'll pay. No hidden charges. If someone on our team messed up or tried to pad costs, that's on us, not on you. Maria's lips form a tentative smile, relief flickering across her face. Maria, thank you. We thought we were just going to get stonewalled. Michael shakes his head. Michael, I won't allow that here. Our customers should never feel tricked. My goal's always been to make sure folks drive away happy. He turns to Chris. Michael, gently. Chris, I appreciate your effort in trying to help them. Please finalize the corrected paperwork with Linda. No extra fees. And if you spot anything else off, let me know immediately. Chris nods, still looking slightly in shock at the reveal, but determined to fix things. Chris, absolutely, sir. I'll handle it. Michael faces Debbie, who stands by, her posture rigid with nervousness. Michael, quietly but firm. I expect better transparency from everyone here, myself included. We'll have a staff meeting about honest quoting practices. In the meantime, if these customers have any other issues, you'll address them politely. Debbie nods, realizing the gravity of the moment. Debbie, understood. Michael turns back to Jason and Maria, offering a small, apologetic smile. Michael, now, would you like to finish looking at the bike? Or maybe check out another model? Whatever you decide, we'll respect your choice. No pressure. And if you still want to walk away, that's your call. Jason and Maria exchange glances, the tension in their posture finally easing. Jason, honestly, the bike's great. We just wanted a fair deal. If you can honor the price we agreed on, we're in. Maria nods in agreement, a tentative relief in her eyes. Maria, yeah, we'd still love to buy it. Thank you. Michael smiles, an expression of genuine satisfaction. Michael, perfect. Chris will wrap everything up, and I'll make sure you're both taken care of personally. Jason and Maria finally relax, their frustration replaced by cautious optimism. Chris ushers them toward the finance office. Michael watches them go, letting out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Michael, they shouldn't have had to fight for honesty. That's on me to fix across the entire dealership. But at least we caught it in time to change things. He runs a hand over his face, scanning the dealership floor. Employees stare, some embarrassed, some curious, but all aware the boss is here, and he just got a raw glimpse of the shortcomings in their system. Michael glances at the mid-range bike he'd planned to buy undercover and decides it's worth a test ride on another day. Right now, there's work to do, staff to retrain, and a reputation to uphold. Michael, softly determined. Time to make things right.